Hi, Julie here for Seconds Out, Sammy Jo Luxton. Thank you for joining me. It's good to see you've been announced for PFL today. What's this transition all about? How did this happen?
I basically got a phone call saying, have you ever thought about transitioning to MMA? And that I sort of have had it in the back of my mind for a while, but I've never had that sort of pressure to be pushed to it. I think I probably would have stayed in my comfort zone and stayed with Muay Thai. But when PFL asked me whether I would sign to them, I didn't hesitate at all. I said yes straight away. And then I've made my transition to MMA and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and you've obviously done so well in the world of Muay Thai. What's your background for the people that aren't yet aware?
So I started Muay Thai when I was 11. I've had 65 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw as an amateur, and I'm 7-1 as a pro.
Okay, not too bad, not too bad.
No, not too bad.
And then obviously, as you get older and grow into the world of fight sports, did you think there was other factors with like the money side of things, like £100,000 in this tournament, etc.? Was there other reasons why you transitioned?
Just for something new. So I've been doing a lot of boxing training as well. So I'm now fighting on the MAYWEATHER card in a couple of weeks' time. So I just wanted to try something new. So I'm going into boxing and then I'll make my MMA debut. I've always wanted to tick every martial art off. So I feel like this is my dreams coming true, basically.
On your way. Let's talk about the MAYWEATHER undercard then. Where were you when you got the call or the email? What was your first reaction? How did you feel in that moment, Sammy?
So I got a phone call from my manager and he said, do you want to fight on the MAYWEATHER card? And I said, yeah. Honestly, I thought he was joking. He was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I actually want you to fight on the MAYWEATHER card. And I was like, okay, well, let's do it. And then I sort of didn't think it was real. And then the poster went up and then loads of big people, loads of big names started to share my face. And I was like, oh my God. And then the tickets went live. And then I saw how big the O2 Arena actually is. So yeah, heart's pounding, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that must be crazy. What did you expect from that whole week, the fight week, the build-up?
Well, I've been given the itinerary and I'm scared. I've always had such a chill fight week.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously because Muay Thai doesn't have a big media background. So I've got the press conference, the open workout, the weigh-ins, and then the actual fight. So it's going to be busy, but I feel like it'll benefit me because I'm usually quite a stress head. So to have something to do should be good.
When did you find about PFL? Was it before the MAYWEATHER undercard, after? Which one came first?
So before. So I found out PFL just before Christmas.
Okay.
So then I found out about the MAYWEATHER card just before New Year.
Okay. Is there a chance you could box again if all goes well at the end of this month?
Potentially.
Never know.
Never know, yeah.
Yeah, obviously PFL are invested in the influence side of things as well with the signing of Jake Paul. What did you make of that?
That was quite exciting. I sat in the kitchen and then I saw it pop up on my feed and I was, what? So then everybody started messaging like my mum and my dad and they were like, have you seen Jake Paul? Like, why are you involved in Jake Paul? But yeah, it'd be good.
Julie here for Seconds Out with one of the best brains in MMA, Dan Hardy. We're here in freezing, blistering cold London, but we've made it to the PFL Media Day. Dan, how are you?
Really good, mate. Really good. Glad to be here.
Yes, of course. This is the start of PFL Europe. So talk about your involvement, why you wanted to get involved, and what this is all about for people who don't yet understand and know.
Well, you know me. I'm all about mixed martial arts as a sport growing and making sure we've got, something solid for future fighters to test themselves at. And we've got so many fighters coming out of Europe right now. PFL needs to be over here putting on shows regularly and scouting this talent, getting it on these PFL shows and really showing what European talent looks like. And then that talent then transitions over to PFL Global and there's $1 million prizes on the line.
Yeah, that's the big thing that stands out for a lot of casual fans. What's PFL? They see the $1 million prize and that kind of attracts them to it. You've obviously got PFL signing the likes of Simeon Powell a while back now, but he's kind of become a star, same with Dakota. Simeon's main eventing, he's just faced off with his opponent as you saw in the octagon cage with him. What do you make of that fight? What do you make of Simeon Powell as a fighter from the UK?
He's a real talent. He's a real talent. We've seen that in his recent fights. The timing on his clinch, on his knees is beautiful. Yeah. His range, his height, his composure. He did upset me a minute ago though, because he told me that when I made my pro debut, I think he was 4. So, what's scary is how quickly these guys are growing, how quickly they're learning, Like I was trying to grab things from all over the place to try and make MMA a thing. He's learning MMA from the best already. It's a scary thing. And when we're seeing these talents stepping into the PFL, we're going to be able to watch their careers grow. You know, Simeon's right at the beginning of an amazing career, same as Dakota is. And in a few years' time, we're going to see how good this talent is, and the PFL will bring that to us.
How do you describe it? We had a chat a moment ago about the way the seasons work. How do you best propose that to someone who doesn't yet know about what the PFL is, the season?
Well, the thing is, a season format's unusual in combat sports because, of course, it's usually one fight to the next, and you kind of don't know where you're going in between. Sometimes you can get signed to a promotion and they'll look after you and get you a few fights consistently, but it's very difficult these days. There are more fighters than there are fights to be had. So you're always scrambling and trying to find a promotion that will keep you on and look after you and give you consistent fights. And we're not seeing anything like that at the top level of the sport. And the reason why I love the PFL is because it fits perfectly with the amateurs, with the IMAFs.
Yeah.
You've got that format with the tournaments moving through. Obviously, we've got Serbia coming up. We've got a big team going there. Some of those fighters in a few years' time are going to be looking for a platform to turn pro, and this is the ideal thing because you can go from amateur to pro, you can build your career, and you build from amateur to pro to top level pro elite. And now obviously Jake Paul bringing in the pay-per-view division as well. You know, the options are limitless, really. I think it's just exciting that you can sign with an organisation that's going to look after you, and they're going to give you regular fights based on your performances.
Yeah, Brendan Loughnane and many other fighters who fought for the PFL said it's the toughest thing they've ever done. So taxing on your body. Why do you think fighters still want to compete? Because it's, as a fan, it's easy to just sit back and watch them keep fighting. But why would a fighter want to be able to be a part of that?
You know, the thing is with combat sports is you can never actually do your sport live every day. You know, we always have to work fractions of the sport. We have to work with big gloves, or we have to work just one range, or work with sparring partners that we know we trust, that are not going to crack us with an elbow and cut us open. It's very, very difficult to get regular testing in a combat sport. So when it comes to PFL, if someone offers you a contract and they say, look, we can get you 3 fights this year, guaranteed, and you know what you're going to be making, and the money that you're making is not the limit to what you'll make that year. There's also, opportunities to make more. Like, for me, that is the dream come true. Like calling promoters and trying to find opponents, and then one guy pulls out and there's no one to replace them, and like you start preparing yourself for nothing, and ultimately, we get nervous from fights, and sometimes, a fight, you kind of wonder why you're doing it. But ultimately, as soon as that fight's happened, you can't wait for the next one, because there's some things you did well, there's some things you did bad, and you need to go back to the drawing board and fix some things. But regular competition is the only way to really test it. And there was never regular competition until we've seen this league format being presented.
Okay, UFC 284 this weekend. It's a fantastic fight. I want to talk about a little bit of something you mentioned on the breakdown, and it fascinated me because you said Khabib's father obviously trained Khabib and had influence on Islam as well. And the thing that stood out to me is when you mentioned he scares people so much with the grappling, the wrestling, that they don't actually remember how good they are at striking. Khabib knocked down Conor, Islam knocked down Oliveira just before he submitted him. Could you expand on that theory? Because it's fascinating.
Well, Abdulmanap was a very intelligent individual. He saw the game of mixed martial arts probably way ahead of his years, and way ahead of a lot of coaches around the world. And when you have a talent like Khabib, who is so strong at wrestling, his wrestling outweighs everything else that he does. And because most of the time he was enforcing his wrestling game upon his opponents, it was easy to kind of neglect the fact that his striking was dangerous as well. Now, in the shadow of that, you've got Islam Makhachev, who's got the same kind of fear associated with his wrestling, but he doesn't have to put the same kind of work in that Khabib did, because Khabib did the work, establishing the fear of the Dagestani wrestling style. So now Makhachev can come in knowing full well that most people won't even go there because of the work that Khabib already put in. Yeah. Makhachev's reinforced that, but now Makhachev's a better striker than the rest of them. Like, he's a southpaw kickboxer. We saw that check hook that he landed on Oliveira and knocked him off his feet. He's the evolution of this team for me. And I think Abdulmanap had a plan, father's plan. I think his plan was Khabib is going to establish how strong our wrestling is, and then Makhachev is going to be the next stage where we're going to see the full mixed martial arts game. I love Khabib, but his striking was quite loose compared to Makhachev's, who's improving very quickly. We've not even seen the tip of the iceberg for Makhachev, and you've got to think there are kids coming from behind him that are training partners of that team now that are going to be even more lethal in a few years' time.
Yeah, for sure. Just in a nutshell, how do you see the fight going? A quick prediction.
I think Makhachev's going to be able to put the fight on the ground if he wants. I think in the early rounds he's going to struggle to control Makhachev. Yeah. So it might be a case we get some kickboxing from the two of them, and this is where Makhachev's going to really use his kicking game. But ultimately, it's space and pace for Volk. That's what he needs. He needs to be on the outside, using that speed in and out, that wild rhythm, and the pace that he sets on his opponents at featherweight. I feel like it's a really, really tough test for Volk, but it's a very competitive one at the same time. I'm leaning towards Makhachev personally. I think he's going to show us how dominant his wrestling is and how persistent that wrestling can be over 5 rounds.
Okay, there's a lot of good UFC fights coming up. I want to speak to you just quickly on the power slap side of things. Not a lot of publicity's come out positive about it. It's very strange. I know you kind of said your piece on it. What do you make of it for people who haven't seen your opinions?
It's not my thing. Absolutely, it's not my thing. It feels to me like people that don't have a great deal of money are being taken advantage of because they're willing to do this thing and risk themselves, their health, and their, everything. You're risking everything, taking 3 shots to the head like that. It's not comparable to combat sports. It's not a combat sport. And the reason why is because a big part of combat sports is how you utilize your defense. You forego defense in this one. And it's disappointing to see it stuck on the side of UFC. Because I love UFC. I love UFC almost as much as I love MMA as a sport. But we worked so hard over the years. Like back in 2010, I was answering questions about what MMA is, not how good is GSP, right? So I'm constantly working to legitimize the sport. Look, you've got to trust us. You've got to understand that we are training hard. We're intelligent. We're making good decisions. It's a very, very complex thing. And then someone follows UFC and they get power slap bolted onto the side of it, and it just delegitimizes everything that we've done. And it's disappointing to see, like Forrest Griffin there, catching unconscious people as they're falling. I want some of these mainstays of mixed martial arts to speak up a bit. And power slap, fine, go and do it, but just don't bring it into the MMA world because it's not the same thing. And someone gets really damaged in that, and it will damage the sport of MMA because of the UFC.
Okay,
well, if we don't freeze to death on the way back, we'll be doing some more
once again.
Thanks, Dan.
We spoke recently. You're now officially out on March 25th.
Yeah.
Of course, you knew that at the time as well, but what does it mean to you to kind of be in spotlight ahead of PFL Europe? Because you're one of the main fighters that PFL are promoting at the moment. You're the star.
I know. I actually feel it as well. I feel like all the eyes are on me at the moment. Obviously, co-main event on the first one of the PFL Europe season, which is massive. I'm quite proud of myself, but I'm super excited. I think it's going to be an amazing card, and it's nice to be able to kick off the season like that on the first show.
You're getting used to all the media as well. Everyone's been grabbing you for interviews. You've done loads.
I know. I feel like I'm boring everyone with the same thing, but I do love it. It's been a great day.
Talk to us about your opponent. You've squared off with the room went silent. There's always an intense moment when fighters face off. How did it feel for you?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really important thing for me. I feel like when I've had a face-off, it's like I'm fully in the zone. I think I've fought on a show before in Abu Dhabi and I weren't allowed one, and it felt really weird. I didn't feel like I could get in the zone properly. But I mean, I'm looking forward to this fight. I think it's the best matchup that I've had so far. So I'm looking forward to this fight being in the UK as well, which is exciting for the fans at home.
Yeah, 100%. Does that give you a bit extra in the gym? You've just seen your opponent. It's going to be in the UK as well. Is that something, a bit more motivation for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think seeing my opponent now is just going to give me that extra little push now in the gym. But not that I needed it because I'm quite a dedicated person anyway. But I'm excited now of it. I've faced off.
Talk to us about your background. Where does the fighting spirit come from?
Do you know what? It's funny because my mum's the fighter, not my dad. So I feel like everyone always expects it to come from my dad and my dad's side, but actually comes from my mum's. But I mean, that's where I'd say the fighting spirit comes from. But I am half Bulgarian, so I feel like I've got that extra fan base now. So I've got my fan base in the UK and then in Bulgaria that's going to kind of come together. I think it'll be really good for the future.
Of course. How do you feel like you've been supported by your mum through this? Obviously, she would have been your first inspiration.
Yeah, she's my first inspiration, and I feel like having someone with the experience that she's had in a similar sport is just crucial. I think that's what sets me apart from everyone else. I think I've got that extra little bit of experience that no one else has got. She's even outside of fighting, I think even the decisions I make with management,
promotions, anything like that. She's kind of been there before. She knows how the business world, the business side of it works. So I feel like it's important, and she's been a really important part of my life and the sport.
Yeah, I suppose fights has always been this way, fight sports, but it's entertainment at the end of the day, and fighting's only a part of what you have to do to be a fighter.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the difference, isn't it? You've got to have a little bit more for yourself. You can't just be a good fighter. I think that's where, like, I mean, people do get annoyed about that. Like Jake Paul, for instance, he's the opposite. So like, he started off with no fighting skills, but he had all the talk and everything, and he's kind of built that fighting skill up now, and it's kind of on a level. So I feel like you got to have a bit of both, you know, or you get left behind in the world now. It's all about, you know, these promotions. You got to understand that they want to see you fight and do good, but they also want to make money. So you got to be able to give a little bit more to them in order to receive. So.
Brilliant. Appreciate your time once again, and look forward for March 25th. Thanks so much.
Julie here for SecondsOut. Connor Hughes, thank you for joining me, bro. How you doing?
Good, mate. I'm good.
Okay, so PFL 6-0 for the people who don't know. Talk to us. What do you bring to the cage, the octagon? Who are you?
I think I've got a very dynamic striking background. You know, all my 6 fights come from finish, so the fans can expect like exciting finishes, and you know, I'm here to prove, you know, I'm one of the best in the world.
It's no surprise PFL signed you with that kind of record and an exciting style as well.
Yeah. I would say I'm probably the most exciting on the UK scene at the minute.
What would it mean to you to be winning that prize, £100,000? It's obviously a new style, a new format here at the PFL, but what would it mean to you to win that prize money?
It'd be life-changing, mate. I think, you know, a lot of people know that, you know, MMA, unless you're here at the top of the mountains, you know, it's not really big financially, but it'd be life-changing. Definitely life-changing.
Why do you do it then if at the moment you can't see the financial benefits? Why do you do it?
I love it. I don't think there's anything else I'd be doing otherwise, to be honest. I've been involved in martial arts and fighting since I was a kid, so this is my only path and my only route to change in my life.
Now I know near Liverpool, it's a big boxing area. Why did you get into MMA?
Well, I actually started in a karate background. Started there, and then I'd probably done that for about 15 years. Kind of won everything there was to win, and me, I'm always pushing for better. I'm always pushing to kind of be the best at whatever I'm doing. So I thought, if you want to be the best fighter, you've got to move on to MMA.
Did you watch Liam Smith's fight a couple of weeks back against Chris? What did you think of that?
Yeah, unreal, mate. Liam Smith is without a doubt one of the best fighters in the world. Him and all his brothers, Callum as well.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think happens in the rematch if that was to happen?
I don't see anything different, to be honest. I think it might get dragged out a little bit later throughout the round, but I see it getting finished again.
Interesting. Well, we're going to predict your fights now. I'm sure you'll kind of be confident of another stoppage, but as for the year and your next fight, how do you see that playing out?
Big year. I think this year I've got 4 fights booked in this year, so this year you're going to see me 4 wins, 4 finishes, and $100,000. That's it.
Appreciate it, bro.
Thank you.